This is Robin Dunbar's latest book, How Many Friends Does One Person Need? We've published Dunbar a couple of times in the past, and those jackets had a uniform look. I wanted to break out of that this time, in part because the title is so provocative. My first idea was to use the little black book in a pretty straightforward design, but I thought that wasn't quirky enough. This is a book about evolutionary quirks. The essays communicate some of the excitement that has made its way into the study of evolution and human behavior in the last decade or so. So I wanted to do something fun, and that brought me back to our roosters. A couple of seasons ago, I was working on the jacket for Richard Posner's Crisis of Capitalist Democracy. Out of the many designs I'd done for that book, we chose this picture of roosters on a 2x4. Judge Posner reluctantly approved it, and it was in our catalog out circulating in the world. But we eventually went in a different direction. The roosters, however, had sort of become famous here. It's really rare for us to have an idea kicking around, waiting for a home. But we sort of loved these roosters. Some buyers loved them, and we had the image licensed. So I tried it for Dunbar. I really liked the quirkiness of it, and the roosters were glad to be back in action, but for some reason I just felt that it didn't really work. But this design did lead me down a path where I started thinking about animals. This is a pretty good title to use for anthropomorphizing, so I tried bunnies. I was a huge fan of the bunny jacket, but it was really pale, and we had a lot of pale jackets this season. So then I came to the cow. I found this image, and it's really one of my favorite photos. It doesn't fit this book because the cow appears to have no friends at all. It's like the loneliest cow. And the book's title refers to an essay that Dunbar wrote about his now famous claim that humans have evolved to be able to maintain a maximum of about 150 close relationships. This cow doesn't seem to have any, but it's a really good picture. It did lead me to the sheep, and I love this picture too. I was really happy with this design. I had some trouble with the type. So I worked through a lot of iterations before I wound up here. And then once I was here, and this approach was approved by others at the press, I had to work out centering of the text on our star sheep's head. Punctuation can be pretty tricky, because it throws the centering of the letters off visually. Here, when I tell the computer to show the invisible marks, you can see that there are 2 dots there, indicating 2 spaces. Then it's time for the full mechanical, the full jacket that will wrap the book. Usually when I work on a mechanical, I copy the title from the front and turn it sideways for the spine. I do that partly because I don't trust my own typing. As you'll notice, that double space before need carried over. I didn't notice. Reprints won't have that space. So that's what I had for Dunbar. Don't worry though, there was a happy ending for those roosters. They eventually made it onto Lance Taylor's book, Maynard's Revenge, where they're quite at home. For Harvard University Press, this is Tim Jones.